I had to make this concavity at the end of a bunch of wooden rods for a project where I made this cool tesseract or hypercube. Let's start with 2 failed attempts. My first idea was to put the wooden rods vertically in the drill press, with the drill press table perfectly vertical. With the tip of a wood drill bit, I tried to center the rod directly under the rotation axis, but it's not easy to get it perfectly centered. Then I would change the bit for a thicker metal drill bit. And drill the concavity. But I didn't even try. Getting everything properly aligned is very complicated, and even a slight deviation is going to be very noticeable, and I need the concavity to be well centered. Second idea. Drill a hole the same diameter as the wooden rods. And with the thicker bit, widen the hole halfway. I insert the rod through the narrow end, and from the other side, I make the concavity with the metal drill bit. I carefully measured, so I wouldn't go too far. And the truth is that the first time, I got a pretty good result. And it has a nice shape. Later, I will explain why I say it has a nice shape. But with this jig, it didn't work so well the second time. The problem is that it gets worn out from inserting the drill bit repeatedly. Plus, it is hard to control how much I drill into the end of the wooden rod. Look at this second attempt, where the edge of the concavity is already coming out frayed. I drilled too far with the bit. I decided to keep it simple and try something easy. First, I'm going to use the wood drill bit to roughly mark the center of the rods. Yes, like that, by hand. It is not just about making a mark. I need to make a small hole that is, more or less, centered. And the bit spinning in the drill helps me do this much better than pushing the bit by hand against the end of the rod. And for a tesseract, I need 32 rods. 64 little holes, 1 for each end of the rod. And now I will use the metal drill bit. Also like this, by hand. And without pressing too much, because I don't want my hand to slip. Here, the hole I made before is very important, because it helps guide the tip of this bit into the wood. Otherwise, at the start, it would slide to the sides. And from there, I can move the rod to adjust how the bit is cutting into the wood. Notice how the concavity it makes has a kind of triangular shape. It's okay. I can improve it. But first, I did this work on all 64 ends of the 32 rods. Look, again that sort of triangular shape. And now? Well, I'll use this round wood router bit. No worries, I also put it in the drill driver. And carefully, I finished giving the concavity the correct shape. Now you can see it has the shape it's supposed to have. It seems complicated, but without rushing, and watching how the router bit cuts into the wood. Changing the angle of the rod relative to the rotation axis to let the bit work more on one side or the other as I go. I managed to make an almost perfect concavity in all the rods. Look at the perfect shape it has, and how well the wooden ball fits, centering itself at the end of the rod. This method has another advantage for me. Assembling the hypercube is tricky, and sometimes parts come apart. I have plenty of these wooden beads, so I can just use another one. And at the end of the rod, I simply clean off the glue using the router bit. With a safety mask, as this glue smells awful when you do this. I'll leave you the link to the video where I made the tesseract,